Hello. And since I haven't done a review in a while, don't mind my cat in the background. Um, this is a series in which most of us know about, but very few know of. And this series is called Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. Of course, in the US, it's called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And this is actually the first actual Sentai I've actually watched straight through without fail since last year. Now, of course, the difference between the English translation and the original, which is Zyuranger, is that there's a lot of change. For one, Zyuranger has a lot more story than Mighty Morphin because it's more along the lines of a tale involving myth and dinosaurs. It is a lot more family oriented, and of course, as I mentioned before, there's a lot more story that is involved than just a show over here being brought together by action scenes mainly, little to no story involved, and just plenty of action scenes. So it's only right that I share what it says on the box I actually have in front of me. And this is the actual story. When the sinister witch Bandar is released from her prison after 170 million years, five warriors from an ancient time arise from their suspended animation to once again defend Earth from Bandora and her evil horde, armed with enchanted weapons and gigantic robot deities known as the Guardian Beasts. It's up to these warriors to defeat Bandora and her monsters before she can exact revenge upon the Earth. So technically, that's the entirety of the original story. And what you've probably seen on in the cut version of Zyuranger or what is considered as Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is that it was not a space dumpster. It was actually, it was more like a bottle. Cause see, if it acted more like the Japanese, you'd get more story out of it. And there's a lot of reason why. There's reason to believe what there. I mean, the story I could say kind of gives you more of character development as to why Bandora hates children and why she flat out attacks children more than she attacks adults. I'm not going to spoil the story for you. If you really want to go check out if you really want to find out more about it, you can actually go on YouTube and just type in Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. And Zyuranger is spelled Zyuranger. Or, Zyuranger. Because the way they say Zyuranger, it's Zyuranger. That's how it's pronounced, Zyuranger. Actually, this is the first of the dinosaur-related Sentai that has been in circulation since. Because after Zyuranger, there was Aba Ranger, and then after Aba Ranger is Kyokuya, otherwise known as otherwise known in the states as Dino Thunder and Dino Charge. So the original Zyuranger are in order: Goshi, Boy, Geki, Dan, Mei, and Budai. That's what you're looking at in order. And of course, the original lineup has technically the following: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys and 1 girl. You see, in the when it was ported over as Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, as you may notice, there were 2 females. But in the original, there was only 1 female, and that was the Pink Ranger, or Terra Ranger, Terra Ranger. And of course, in the, I'm sorry if I'm sort of, yeah, never mind. I'll say this again. In the original, as you could tell, there were 5 Rangers. The 6th one came about only through resurrection. And the reason why the Dragon Ranger, otherwise known in the States as the Green Ranger, resurrected was for revenge against his brother, which is Geki, or Tyranno Ranger. So, really, it had more story. It had more story than what Mighty Morphin had, because they just said, "Oh, we're gonna take you, Tommy. Boop! You're just a random guy. We're just gonna take off the street. Boop! Oh, you're gonna be a Green Ranger. You're going to serve Rita. You are going after the Power Rangers and that." It's like, yeah. I mean, after I looked at it, after I saw the original, it changed my whole outlook of the series in its entirety. Just like watching Kamen Rider Black RX changed my whole perspective of the Masked Rider, which was the terrible dub version of Black RX. But as I mentioned before, the difference here is that the 5 main Rangers that you see are from ancient tribes. Whereas in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they were just 5 teenagers with attitude. That's all it was. So, oh yeah, we're just gonna give you these powers because, oh, you're chosen to fight for the Earth and blah blah blah, and because I said so. And you question the power of a mystical being, which is basically a floating head, compared to a wizard who basically has stayed incognito as a gardener. Changes your whole perspective of the series, doesn't it? The original series also had 50 episodes. That's on 10 discs. It's a span of 10 discs, 50 episodes. There was no such thing as Megazord. It was called Daijujin. That's the giant robot in the background, comprised of Mammoth, Saber Tiger, Tyrannosaurus, Triceratops, and Pterodon. Of course, the Dragon Ranger had Caesar. It wasn't called the Dragon Zord. It was just mainly called Caesar. And on top of that, well, the Dragon Dagger also has a name. It's called the Zyuranger. I believe that's what it's called. The Zyuranger. Yeah. Let me see. Zyuranger. Either Zyuranger was the name of the I think Zyuranger was the fusion of the Triceratops, Mammoth and the Dragon and the Dragon. I have completely forgotten, but it has been a long time since I've seen Zyuranger. And like I said, it is more. It has basically more story than Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like for one, they were strong enough without Burai after he was beaten with an inch of his life. Technically, in the original story, after Geki found out about him having a brother, he wanted to reconnect. That's all he wanted to do. He didn't want anything else but to reconnect with him. That was the original story behind the Dragon Ranger and the Tyranno Ranger. They're both related. So yes, there are six Rangers, and I'm not certain if I think there was a series before that had a death of a Ranger, but this one I can basically say I've never seen a more touching death scene than Burai's death. Because after he figured out what happened to him, he had to make his peace. So he had to do the best he can, regardless of his life being safeguarded by a chamber. Like I said, you can actually find out more through the actual series. I'm only telling you bits and pieces. I'm not spoiling it or anything. You just have to see it for yourself. Like I said, it's 50 episodes. Compare that to Mighty Morphin, in which Mighty Morphin was just everywhere, really. Because Mighty Morphin had footage from Zyuranger, O-Ranger, Car Ranger, and they still call him. Well, throughout the Power Rangers franchise, the earlier years of Power Rangers, they went through Zyuranger. They went through Ranger. They went through O-Ranger. They went through Car Ranger. And of course, they also went through Goranger. Because, let's see, you have Mighty Morphin, which was Zyuranger. Mighty Morphin Power Ranger was Zyuranger. Alien Rangers was Goranger. Then you had Zeo, which was O-Ranger. Turbo, which was Car Ranger. And then it led into In Space, which is technically Mega Ranger. Now, it leads me to believe that since Shout Factory is the company that is behind releasing most of the original Sentai shows, if you've never seen the original Sentai in its entirety, now's a good time to start. Because this is the first of many Sentai series that will be coming out. The second one that's already out right now is indeed Gosei Sentai Zyuranger. And technically, after all that, after the end of Zyuranger, it actually leads into Zyuranger, which I find kind of cool. So, if you've not seen this series under its original title, now's a good time for you to go order yourself a series. If you can find it at Best Buy, find it, buy it. This is recommended that you watch it. Because if you grew up watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, if you want to cut through all the, if you want to cut through all that stuff, if you weren't satisfied with how it went down, you can actually go and, you know, go buy it, order if need be. But my goodness, it's a good series. Let me tell you that. I mean, I've never actually sat through a good series, and I've sat through, you know, I've sat through watching Hurricaneja, and Hurricaneja was a good series. I even tried sitting through Kyoryu Sentai Jetman, and that's a really good series. I've seen quite a bit of the old school Sentai, like the first one, Himitsu Sentai Goranger, until it was taken down, and I've been watching Denji Sentai Mega Ranger. I've been watching quite a bit of Sentai through YouTube. I mean, not YouTube, through Facebook, because sometimes I check it out through my Facebook feed, and I do watch a bit of the old school Sentai. But sometimes I want to have that. I want to have a taste of Sentai. You know, I want to have a taste of Sentai. I want to watch Sentai, enjoy it for myself. And I know there are times that streams happen, but you know, I don't want to be bothered with. I really don't want to be bothered with, you know, trying to deal with watching the chat and at the same time I'm watching the series. I like to enjoy watching the series.
Yeah, good.
As I was saying before I was interrupted, I have to have a taste of Sentai. You know, it's like Tokusatsu. I happen to like it. You know, and the only series I have not seen or have not just basically had the time to watch. I got a few of them. I have in my collection Ultraman and Toei Spider-Man. I have not seen those two series, and I have all that series. I just need to sit down and watch it. But this is one of those series that I have to cover in detail because it's a part of my growing up. It's a part of everybody's. It's a part of everybody growing up in the 90s. As I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted again. Growing up in the 90s, technically, Tokusatsu was a big thing. It still is a thing. It's just not as big as when it first came out and you had Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Ultraman, and even Masked Rider come out on U.S. shores. I mean, Masked Rider, otherwise known as Kamen Rider Black RX, was the first series to actually come out here, and it was a flop. It was one of the biggest flops of a legacy done by my idol, Ishinomori. And I swear, it's like you try putting something on national TV to U.S. shores, really, and it doesn't flow as well as you think it would. Because the whole story, the whole story, as after I watched the original Kamen Rider Black RX, and I compared to the Masked Rider, or Masked Rider, not the Masked Rider, because there's a Sega CD game called The Masked Rider, and that's based off of another Masked Rider called Kamen Rider Zeto. I will go into that when I actually go into my review of Kamen Rider Black RX. Because there's another thing I need to run down when I actually get to Kamen Rider Black RX. But anyway, as I said before, Shell Factory is releasing mostly old school Sentai out on DVD. And as I mentioned, Zyuranger is the first. The second one is Ranger, which actually follows right after Zyuranger. So I would suggest, if you have a taste for tokusatsu, if you have a taste for Super Sentai, I would I would recommend that you order this through Amazon. I'm pretty sure Amazon has it for like at least $35 or so. But it is a really good series. I know this is out on. I know this is out on Best. I know it's out on Best Buy. You can find it at Best Buy. I am totally sure because that's how I found it. I went to Best Buy and I found it. Or rather, I ordered it from Best Buy and they had it, so I bought it. But as I said before, Toku Satsu in the 90s was a big boom because you had the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you had Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, which was basically Denko Chojin Gridman in Japan. You even had the ones that even Saban made some really good made up ones like the Mystic Knights of Tirnanog. Oh, there's so many titles out there. Even the Tattooed Teens from Beverly Hills. Why the hell am I remembering that? And even Big Bad Beetleborgs, which was also based off a Metal Hero show by the name of Juko B Fighter or Beetle Fighter. But anyway, in any case, if you are interested in this series, I suggest you go check out Amazon or Best Buy, order the series for yourself, watch it, and of course, I highly recommend it if you're a fan of Super Sentai. If you are a real big fan of Super Sentai, I do mean highly recommend you watch this series. It will change your outlook on how you actually saw the Power Rangers when you were a kid, and probably, hopefully, for the better, if not for the worse. But anyway, that's going to be another story for another time. I'd like to thank you for watching this review of Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. And I'll see you next time with even more reviews and Let's Plays. Until then, take care, God bless. Senpai's blessings upon you all. And as always, Tenkai Muso. Have a great and wonderful weekend.